Hello, everybody. Welcome to the replay, and I am so glad you are here. Today, we are going to talk about creating a podcast that people will actually listen to. So, we've got a lot of content, and we always have great discussions. So, I'm going to dig right in here. Vicki, Nisha, thank you for being here today. So, podcasts, they've been around for a while. There are more than 5 million with an M. 5 million podcasts, and most of those have never gone past 10 episodes. So creating a podcast is really easy. Getting it uploaded, mastering it, getting it uploaded, breaking it down, posting it everywhere, and promoting it, that's where the hard work is. And people don't always do that. So you need to go ahead and take the next step if you're willing to invest your time in creating a podcast. Now, interestingly enough, 92%, Vic, would you give Monique a call and see if you can figure out what's going on? Thank you. So 92% of the podcast audience listens to podcasts, doesn't watch them. They listen while they're driving, while they're working out, while they're going for a walk, while they're shopping. So it's a great forum, but 92%, that's a whole lot of people. But the important thing is not to focus on just the people who listen, just audio. Even though 92% of the audience is listening, you still have a percentage of people who do watch podcasts. And there is a difference. The people who just listen to audio, they are more based on, hello, Monique, I'm glad you're here. They're more focused on the intimacy of a podcast. They're more loyal. Whereas if you post a video podcast, you've got more people who are finding you. You're more visible. You're more discoverable. So if you only post the video side of it, you're losing an incredible amount of depth that you could be achieving. And obviously you don't want to do that. You want to benefit from your efforts of creating it and posting it and everything else. Now, I'm going to go on the assumption, even though I know Vicki has done podcasts and I know Monique has done podcasts. Now, Nisha, I don't know if you can talk, but have you ever done a podcast?
I've never done a podcast.
I'm sorry?
I haven't done a podcast.
That's not a problem. When you're done here, you'll be able to. So I'm going to go on the assumption that people don't know everything about podcasts. So we're going to start at the basic level and fill in some of the blanks for people who aren't familiar with it. So if you are going with the audio podcast, you're going to go with places like Spotify, Apple Music. And if you're going with the video, you're going to go in places like Substack, YouTube. You can do cuts on TikTok and Instagram if you want. So there are a lot of places that you can post or your video, whether it's audio or video. Post your podcast, whether it's audio or video. Now, you don't need to have a fancy studio to do a podcast. You can just create a safe, quiet place. An ideal place is a place that doesn't have, or that has sofas and carpets and pillows and things like that are going to absorb some sound. Because if you do it in a big hollow room, you're going to get some echoes, and you don't want to do that. In terms of equipment, and Vicki, is that a Blue Yeti or is that a different mic?
Thanks. This is a Shure M7. That's
Very
what I'm
good.
using. This is an older mic though, but it is still a popular mic for podcasting.
Yes. A place to start with microphones is Blue Yeti because they're inexpensive. The Shures are more expensive. but they're both high quality mics. Now, I can't speak for the Shure because I've got a Blue Yeti, but you can buy a separate connector to connect your Blue Yeti to your phone. So if you are using your phone as your camera, you can still have good quality audio. People will forgive iffy audio. If your lighting's not quite right, if you have a hiccup or something like that, they'll forgive that. They will not forgive poor audio, because especially if they're just listening to it and your audio is bad, they're out of there. So having good quality audio is very important. Now, for your camera, you can use your phone, your tablet, your computer. You don't have to use a video camera. You can if you want. The important thing is that if you are using a phone, a tablet, or a computer without a mic, you want to make sure that you have good audio on that. It's still ideal to have a separate microphone if you are able to do that. Lighting. You either want to use natural light or you want to use a light ring. Now, I'm traveling right now, so I don't have my light ring. I have natural light, and I realize this side of my face is really bright and this side isn't. But you want to go with natural light or a light ring to make yourself look professional in what you're doing, and so they can clearly see you if you're doing video. The other thing that you want to know about is that, again, I need to repeat it because audio is critical. That doesn't mean you need to buy an expensive mic. Your phone can work if you have good audio on it. They will forgive poor video. They will not forgive poor audio. Which brings us to your voice. Your voice is your most important tool. If you have energy, if you've got a good pace, remember, confident people don't rush. They have a nice moderate speed. If you're pausing, those are the types of things that make you real. But energy is really important. You need to be engaged. Now, if I say, I'm happy to be here today, versus, I'm happy to be here today, there's a big difference, and the audience is going to hear that. Even if you're only doing audio, smile. People hear the smile even if they don't see your face. It changes the dynamic of your voice and your mindset. So you want to make sure that you have the voice, the energy, the confidence, the authority when you speak. Because ultimately, a podcast is not just a podcast. It is a platform for you. It is an authority engine for you. It is a place for people to treat you as the expert in what you're doing. Because ultimately, this is a platform to take you to the next step. And usually that next step is money, honey. It's monetizing your speaking, your coaching, your book, whatever else you have. You want to make sure that you're presenting yourself in a way that people are going to want to spend money with you when it's done. Now, if you are doing a video, body language is hugely important. Now, some people sit, particularly if they have guests. You've seen the sets that people have with the 2 chairs and the table in the middle and the mics and all that other stuff. That's one way to do a podcast. The other way is the way that we're going to see at 1:00 when Vicki Helm and Monique Wright do their podcast for the first time on Substack. That's at 1:00 right after this masterclass. They are doing it side by side out of 2 separate studios. So you're going to see them from here to here on a split screen. And that's another way that you can do it. If you're doing it solo, just make sure that you're sitting up straight in your chair. It helps your diaphragm. And you don't want to be slouching like this. You don't want to be doing this. You don't want to be doing that. And I know because I've done this before accidentally. So you want to make sure that if you're going to pick on me, I'm not going to ask you. Yes, Vicki.
I just want to tell everybody, This is super important. When we did the coffee break show, we ended up being in the top 9 shows, and
Mhm.
our executive producer, not just your communications person, she was our executive producer. That's so important to understand that what she is saying is the thing that's going to get you popular. And all of these things that she's talking about, she's doing it as an act like a great communicator, but her professional background of being an executive producer of a show that went really big with a huge audience. I think,
Mhm.
we ended up with 30,000 listeners
Mhm.
after year number 4 or something that would listen live, and at one point, we were doing it every single day, so imagine all those people live every single day. So every tip she's giving you, including where your camera is and everything else, is exactly what needs to happen, and I just wanted to say that because there is nobody better at this than you. You're a great executive producer. Thank you for going over these again because I need the reminder.
Thank you, Vicky. So you want to make sure that your voice is the tool that you're using and you're using it right. You want to be ready to make that the perfect tool, and then next is your body. So you're sitting up straight. You can even stand if you're more comfortable standing, whether you're doing audio or video, if that's your thing. Just stand straight, don't slouch. Make sure that you're presenting a professional appearance, whatever you're doing. So that doesn't mean you have to do the whole hair and the makeup and all that stuff, but don't look like a slouch with a torn t-shirt. You want to present a good impression. The other thing, and this is critical, and it is something I am so bad at, and I'm doing it at this very moment. Look at your camera. I can tell you that Vicky probably still has a red dot next to that little dot where the camera is, because you should be looking there. Don't look at yourself. I want to talk to somebody. So, particularly if I'm doing a pre recorded podcast, I'm talking to myself here. I look at myself. That's basic courtesy when you communicate with someone. You look at them. I look at Vicky when she talks. I look at Misha or Monique when they talk. But it is so much more of a connection if you look at that little camera dot all the time, because they will show you how it will just change the dynamic of your your video presentation when you're making the connection for them. Now, the next thing is your content and your hooks. When you're doing a podcast, the first thing you need is a title that's going to hook people so that they're going to want to come online. So something like most podcasts fail and yours might too. Well, that sucks. Let me see what that means and how I can make sure that that doesn't happen. As opposed to episode 12, learning to communicate. Nobody is going to want to click on that. They're going to want to click on something that's hooky. Beyond that, have content. Don't do a ramble. You need to have a plan whenever you start a podcast. You want to know what your content is. Are you going to teach them something? Are you going to challenge their thinking? Are you going to give them a takeaway? Because ultimately, if the audience can't say, "What did I get out of that?" they're not going to come back. They need to get something for investing their time. The other thing that you need to be aware of is the value that you offer. You want to make sure that you're providing 3 to 5 specific pieces of content, of tips, of points, of whatever you're going to cover. And then you want to have a good close. And your close, hello, Monique. Technical issues? Your wall looks great. Monique and Vicky are doing a podcast. So Monique created this amazing space in her studio and it looks really great. So back to the content. You've got a hooky title. You've got some specific content you're going to go over. You're not going to ramble. You're going to have 3 to 5 points that you're going to cover in it. And then you're going to have a close that includes a call to action. And that call to action is going to tell them to join your community, go to your store, go to your website, whatever you want it to be. But don't just stop talking. Don't just say, thanks for being here, because that's a waste of your time. Yes, you've provided great information. Maybe you've positioned yourself as an expert, but what's in it for you other than that if you're not monetizing it? So you need to make sure that people are seeing you as an expert and they easily know how to find you so they can follow you and spend money with you. That's very important. Now, when Vicky and Monique do their podcast at 1:00 today, they are co-hosts. So that's what they're going to be doing. However, having a guest on your podcast can be a great asset. Now, when you get a guest, first and foremost, make sure they are aligned with your audience and your mission. Don't meet some nice lady at the SPCA and decide that they would make a great content because everybody likes doggies and kitties. Make sure that they're aligned with what your message is. And then you want to set them up in front. You want to make sure they understand the content. You want to give them some key questions that you're going to be asking them. And you're going to give them time constraints so that they know exactly what to expect while they're there. And that way they won't ramble. And it's also your responsibility when you're on the podcast with a guest that you are managing them. You're directing them through this with questions. If they start rambling, that you pull them back. If they start talking too long in a question, that you have a way to professionally and discreetly bring them back to where you were. Now, occasionally you are going to have a real stinker of a speaker. They sound great when you talk to them. Vicky told you I used to be the executive producer of her Coffee Break show. Highly successful. We had a lot of great guests. We did, however, have one guest out of Hawaii. She was so articulate when I talked to her. We had a great conversation. I told her the kind of questions. It was incredible. I just knew it was a great topic and she was going to knock it out of the ballpark. And she was a stinker. She got on, she didn't talk about anything. Vicky kept pulling her back to what the contact was. She kept telling everybody how important Jesus was in her life. Now, that's an important message, and that is great. But that was not the content that we were discussing. And she kept bringing it back, and Vicky kept pulling her forward. And finally, Vicky had to close the show out early because it was providing absolutely no value to the listeners. Yes, Vicky.
I want to make sure to add this because one of the things we did when we have a stinker person on the show is that we don't air it. So just because you do it doesn't mean you have to put it in your portfolio. I mean, the poor people who watched it live suffered enough, and then we didn't post it anywhere else. So I wanted to say that as well.
Yes, excellent point. Thank you. And we're actually about to talk about publishing through platforms. So if you have a bad one, you do not have to post it out there. You don't have to distribute it. You don't have to promote it. You don't have to put it in your portfolio. You just respectfully thank the person and get rid of it. Because your reputation, your position as an authority on the subject and as an expert is critical. You don't want to tear down your reputation, even if it's a big name. and this person was not. But even if it's a big name, you don't want to pull down your reputation with a bad podcast just because you had a guest. And the last thing you need to do is to ask your guest to share the podcast. You can give them a clean copy of the final podcast. You can give them several of the clips that you've cut out of it and give them that content so that they have the best quality. Ask them to do that and provide that with the tools. Do not assume that they are automatically going to do that. Because what many people will do is they will promote the podcast prior to airing. See me at 1 o'clock on April 1st because we're going to be talking about so and so with Monique Wright and Vicki Helm. But then after they've promoted it and hopefully their following has shown up, they don't necessarily feel the need to put the podcast out there. So you have to ask them, do not assume, and provide them with the quality clips and full video, including titles. Don't leave it up to them to come up with titles, or you're going to get episode 12, Get Better at Communication. You give them your hooky titles, and your clips need to have great titles too. Whatever the content is on that piece that you pulled out, say something exciting about it. Don't just say clip 5. Now, here's the part that I didn't understand and I needed to do research on. I don't know why, but I assumed that you did a podcast and then you just copied that podcast to all of the other places that you want to. But there are a few steps in there. First of all, you need to have a host. So just because I do a video on school doesn't mean that that's the most effective way to get it out to all of the channels. You want to go to a host like Substack, a host like Buzzsprout. There are so many of them. I say Substack because most of us, or many of us in this community, have Substack already. And if you're already paying for it, why pay for another host when you've got one right in your back pocket? It's a new service through Substack. So if you haven't heard of it or you haven't seen it, check it out. The second reason I mentioned Buzzsprout is because it's easy. It's really for beginners. They make it as easy as possible for you. And once you have loaded your information up there, you'll get an RSS feed. And then you'll give that feed to either they'll connect them for you in some cases. In others, you need to take your RSS feed and upload it yourself to the different. Now, what I've heard, and I would love to have Vicki confirm this for me because I haven't done a podcast this way. I've never done that with the Coffee Break Show. You did that masterfully. What I have read is that once you upload the RSS feed one time, you don't have to upload it again. So you're now always on Spotify, always on Apple Music. I know, for example, Substack, they'll direct load to your YouTube. And you're going to cut down your clips and load those manually as you would any other video onto your TikTok and onto your Instagram. So that's how you want to do it, is to get them out there. Don't just do a post on Substack and then leave it there and say, I did a podcast. And even if you promote it, get it out there, distribute it. You have invested your time to maybe get a guest, definitely to prepare, to sit down and record it for however long it is. And then you've cleaned it up if necessary. Cut some clips out. Use one asset and use it in multiple places. Yes, Vicki.
I just want to say something here because then I don't have to say it later. But one of the things you want to have is a square look so that you're looking up at your client and not down. So if you're looking down a little bit, we want to put some books underneath your laptop or whatever. Raise it up so that you're level or looking up, and preferably looking just slightly up at the camera. And that's how we want to set ourselves. There you go. And then the other thing that I want to make sure that I want to repeat what you're saying, because what you're saying is so gold right now that most people don't get this kind of information before they start. They get this information after they've done a couple of, bad podcasts or things like that. But distribution is one of the hardest things you can do right now, because you got to figure out where your platform is. And I just want to say this: what she said about everybody being on Substack and it's new, I would like to share with them that they also started Substack TV. And it literally is TV, just like Peacock or Paramount or, any of those apps. We now have Substack TV, and you can access it on Roku or wherever else. And the thing that she pointed out, and I need you to hear this, it's free right now. It's free. So if you take advantage of that free, they're helping you build your show, then helping you distribute your show on one of the biggest platforms ever, which is, television and an app state. And I just wanted to say that I think it's super important to take care of um, how you present yourself in the show. And I think this is for anybody who wants to even, public speak. If they're recording you, if you're going, live in front of a camera and it's going to be recording you, all of the things she's saying are applicable. And so, I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Vic. I appreciate that. And yes, the point about the square, really important, and about the camera. You don't ever want to be looking down on your speaker. You want to be looking straight at that camera. But distribution is really important. So take advantage of your one asset, turn it into multiple assets, and get it out there. And then promote it. A lot of people do the post and hope approach, where they figure, well, I put it up, they're going to find it. No, I told you there are 5 million podcasts, plus newsletters, Substack posts, Medium posts, social media posts. There is so much noise out there that you really need to make a specific effort to promote your podcast. You need to promote it to the audience that you want to communicate. Don't throw a big net out there. Figure out to whom you are going to promote it. And again, make sure that you have something catchy. One of the things, and Monique did a great job on this for the podcast that's right after this one, you want to create artwork. Don't just, and that's your opening card, so that when they come in, they don't just see, you frozen on the screen going, and then you start talking. You want to have an art card like that. And Monique has her own podcast separate from the Wealth Rules podcast that comes on at 1. And she has a fantastic intro. She's got music, she's got a podcast, she's got an opening card. It is so professional. It really, really is sharp. And that's how you do it. So if you want to see her podcast, and Monique, where else do you have it other than Substack? Okay, microphone is not coming off. Well, I can tell you that she has it on Substack. And so you want to find her at Wealth Done Right, WRIGHT, Wealth Done Right on Substack, and you'll get to see her audio podcasts. Content is great, but you'll really see her intro, which is a great case study on how it should be done. So it's really sharp. In terms of promotion, and let me just grab some water here if you excuse me. I'm in Florida and it is hot. My dad does not believe in air conditioning.
Always good to have water. Always good to not have air conditioning.
So
It's good for your body.
it is, but short of taking my clothing off and it's a little warm. That'll get more views on my masterclass or not. Anyway, promotion. First and foremost, after you have made sure that your podcast is the way you want to have it. And when you do that, I mean, you want to clip probably a little off the front and a little off the back because you push the record button and you're waiting for it to come on. So you may have a half a second of nothing. Yes, Vicky.
I just want to ask you because I know there's the before and the after and the thumbnails and things like that. But what's your opinion of live versus podcast, record a show, edit it and put it out? What's your opinion about those two the forms of podcasting?
That's a great question. Personally, and this is not based on any research, this is a personal opinion. If you are going to do a regularly scheduled podcast, like we did with the Coffee Break Show, it was always at noon Eastern Standard Time, and we had someone, me, who would answer questions as they came in on the chat. You don't want a live situation where people are commenting and you can't see it. Now, if you're podcasting and you're the host, you can still set your screen up, depending on the format you're using, to see the chat, but it can be distracting. So, in my opinion, if you have somebody who can address any people who come in with live comments, that's great. Otherwise, I think pre-recording is wonderful. And another reason for that is I did some research on when is the best time to air your podcasts. Now, obviously, a podcast goes worldwide. So wherever you pick, it's going to be a different time someplace else, even in the United States. But most places use Eastern Standard Time in the United States as the goal for what they want to be. They also do. I just saw this from a podcaster who works out of Australia. He does his podcast based on Greenwich Mean Time, so GMT. So he's starting from there. He's the only person I have ever seen do that. But you need to come up with some type of a basis. Now, Vicky and I, this is a noon Eastern Daylight Time masterclass. Vicky has done the Coffee Break Show at noon Eastern Daylight Time when she did it for, was it 4 years? 6 years. Oh, it went so fast. So we picked a time, but I did research. And the research says that some of the best times to release podcasts is between 6 and 9 a.m. on Tuesday and Wednesday mornings. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be doing a live podcast at 6 a.m. Not my best time. So, to answer your question, Vicki, in my opinion, not based on research, I think that pre-recorded podcasts are perfectly acceptable because you're not offering a comment section. You can time it any time of day that makes the most sense to you. And I just want to interject here back on that research as to the best time being at that god awful early hour of the morning on Eastern Time, is that people get up and they listen to it on their commute. They listen to it when they're exercising. So if they can get a fresh podcast first thing in the morning, that's the best time for them. Vicki,
May I ask you, is this Eastern Standard Time? That's between 6 and 9 a.m.? So it's not.
Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, because
Part of
this
it
was
is part of it for me is exciting for a minute if I do live because I agree with you. There are people who are working out who are, waiting and commuting and listening to the podcast. But between 6 and 9, that's a lot of room. There's, 3 hours that even if you get in the middle hour, like welcome to the 7 a.m. podcast, that's like being the morning show
Mhm,
of a DJ thing. And although I see the value of a pre-recorded podcast, I also see the value of going live if
mhm.
you're willing to commit to that time zone, which is
Yes,
that has to be there. You have to commit to that time zone. And Tuesday and Thursday, did you say was best?
Tuesday and Wednesday morning, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Tuesday and
Eastern Time.
Wednesday. That's so interesting.
And yes.
Thank you. You write it down. That's right. Because there's something interesting, and I was thinking about that. What if you were like the morning wealth show? Because I look at 9 a.m. and it's on the East Coast. That's when the market goes live. So
Mhm,
there's data. Otherwise, if I go too early, it's yesterday's market data that I have to do because the market hasn't done anything. And I'm
mhm.
being really selfish with your time right now because
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
fine.
I'm ready to go live and make that forward movement, but
Mhm.
sometimes the daily live, the thing that really pushed our success really well is the daily live.
Yes.
And the daily live is, maybe not like what do you um, I want to ask your opinion again for something.
Mhm,
What do you think? There has been the debate between the like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then masterclass, and then the conversation's 1 to 2 hours. Or what do you think of the 20 to 30-minute show 5 days a week? Which one is gonna do better? Is it the because I've been watching the big shows. They are doing 1 to 2 hour masterclasses,
mhm.
really deep diving into something or deep diving into a topic. What say you?
Well, I am doing quick research on that because I don't know the answer. There are a lot of long. What, and this is chat. So, as accurate as Chat GPT is, it
Go
says the
ahead.
sweet it says the sweet spot is 20 to 40 minutes, best for growth and retention. It's easy to finish in one setting, like a commute, a walk, or a workout. If you want one number, 30 minutes is your safest bet. When shorter wins, 5 to 15 minutes. Great for daily shows, quick insights, or solo teaching. It's got a high completion rate, meaning that people will watch it from start to finish. They'll watch it all the way to the end, which boosts your platform ranking. So if you have people who are dropping off in the first couple of minutes, that does not boost your platform ranking because you have a high drop off rate. Um, and in that situation, a 5 to 15 minute, you're only communicating one point, just one idea, one takeaway, and then you're done. Now, when
So
longer works is if you have strong guests, if you can hold attention for 45 to 90 minutes. Now, I know Vicky has the talent to do that. Not everybody does. So you need to be able
see.
to, and let me come back here. You need to be able to hold the audience for that long. And
Yeah,
if you
you
have
have
a
to be
guest,
interesting. There has to
yes,
be a reason, you have to be interesting. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. You need to engage the audience the entire time. And if you have a guest, you need to make sure you have a guest that can be engaging for that entire time. So long is not bad, but you need to have a talent for it. And you need to have enough content to keep going through it.
And the
Um,
thing is, it's like, long form, you're a media company. Short form, you're a brand promoting yourself.
mhm,
And the question is, where do you wanna be on that spectrum? Are you a brand promoting yourself and you're just saying hello and you got 15 minutes and here's the how-to video of the week, etcetera? Are you a media company that plans on being large and provide value over a period of time,
mhm,
say, 5, 10 years? Are you a company that's gonna be doing that? And the start of where you are, the start of the conversation, all of that is, I think, where you choose the beginning. So, you
mhm,
know, 15 minutes for me as a brand and a
mhm.
media company that has that message. Like, if you see Diary of a CEO, he started with the brand thing and then he just blew up. But it's interesting what you said about the interview piece while you're interviewing, because I know, like, the Graham Stephan, he has 2 podcasts. He has one that's just him and
Mhm.
then one that's him and his partner. And
Yes.
him and his partner, they go for the master class, they interview people.
Mhm,
So, I guess it depends on what you're doing and how
mhm.
and what your goals are for doing it as well.
Exactly. Exactly. You need to know what your ultimate goal is
Mm,
because that is where the rubber meets the road. What do
mhm,
you want to accomplish? And I
mhm,
think that your assessment of a 15-minute podcast is brand. You can still position yourself as an expert in this field, but you're only giving them one piece of content. You don't squeeze 5 in there, you will fail. But the important thing is that you get people to listen all the way through to boost your ratings. So whatever you do, you just need to fill the time in an engaging way with however long that's going to be, and you need to be consistent.
yes, absolutely. I totally agree with you. You
So
have to be on point and consistent with delivery of time. That's how Substack starts. The second you start a podcast or live or whatever it is, the backing of the platform will start investing in you and pushing you out to an audience.
yes.
That's the thing that is, I think, most important. And right now, Substack is investing in people who are doing lives. That's
Mhm.
really what they're investing in.
Yes, and it's exciting. It's a Substack is such a great platform. If you're not already on it, whether you want to write or you want to do lives or you want to do pre-recorded podcasts, I highly recommend it. Um, Back to promotion because promotion is hugely significant. First and foremost, be consistent. Don't just put one little thing out there and say, "Hey, we did a podcast today and here was the subject and wow, weren't we great?" You need to set things up so that all week long you are promoting the podcast that you just did. And you accomplish that by taking clips from the podcast. And you can put that in a variety of places. You don't just post the whole hour-long podcast everywhere, again and again and again. Get some clips, get some attention, use social media, use your email list. You want to make sure that you're promoting it in as many places as you possibly can, as many times in the week as makes sense. Because ultimately, it comes down to monetizing. And you're not going to monetize if you don't get traction and if you don't get the platform doesn't boost you. So, again, I'm going to repeat it because it's so critical. You need to have hooky titles. Do not do episode 12, improving your communication. Get something really got to listen to. And I know Vicky's great at that. And she's going to send some of those today to me, some great ideas that she has. um, so you want to do that. You want to be consistent. You want to get it out there. You want to ask your guests to share. Those are all promotion techniques to get you where you're going to go. Because your ultimate goal is to monetize. You need to talk about your products during your podcast. Do not make your podcast all sales. You need to provide real value, because when they say, "What did I get out of it?" they don't want to say, "I watched the home shopping show." You want them to know what your area of expertise is. But then what are you selling? Do you have a $27 product? Do you have a book? Do you coach? Do you speak? Do you just want to get their information for lead generation and use your podcast as a source of your funnel? So maybe you're forwarding them to an assessment or some other lead magnet. But you need to speak at some point during your podcast about what they can get from you. And know what your long-term strategy is. When you build your podcast, before you even start, you need to know what is your message, what's your topic, who's your audience, what do you intend to accomplish, and your long-term strategy is to sell coaching, to sell your book, whatever it is. So it is not a platform, it is a springboard for opportunities for you. Finally, you don't need to have a perfect podcast. You need to do it. You need to have great audio. You need to get out there and be consistent. I recommend that you create 3 podcasts before you air anything. If you're going to do pre-recorded, do 3. Don't do 1, because then you'll get busy and then you're not being consistent. Do 3 and get them out there, promote the heck out of them on a regular basis, and sell something. Now, just one closing thought, and we're going to close a few minutes early because some of our attendees have an important appointment at 1, including me, because I'm going to be listening, and I hope you do too. And you might have to go to the bathroom before the 1 o'clock. I have a $27 product on podcasting. I'm going to send it to the 4 of you, just so that you can get a summary of what today's class was. So I'll send that through the school messenger. So I'll have that sent to you today after the next podcast that I watch. So it'll be there just to summarize what we talked about, and you'll have it at your fingertips. I thank you for being here today. You were awesome. Does anybody have any questions before I turn off the recording? Okay, then we're going to wrap 5 minutes early. I thank you for your time. Thank you for watching the replay. Ladies, thank you for attending live. And I look forward to seeing all of you again next week. And Vicki and Monique, I'll see you at 1 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time on Substack on the Wealth Rules channel. Thank you.